Hello everyone. Today I want to talk to you about how I manage my biggest garden pest, which are the deer. Here in Northern Virginia, we have an overpopulation of deer. They don't have any natural predators here. I know that the coyotes are starting to come back in and hopefully that will help, but who knows? They are here and they are eating my plants. I use multiple methods to keep those deer off my plants. Those include sprays, cages, fences, other plants that smell bad to the deer, and hiding my plants. So guys, first up is the spray. This is my favorite deer spray. I think I've used them all, and this is a Deer Stopper. This spray actually doesn't smell too horrible. I think they pack it with lavender or something. So as opposed to other sprays, this one you can deal with. So I like to use this at least once a week or after it has rained. And just so you know, with this bottle, I get it off of Amazon, but it comes with a spray nozzle and it doesn't work really well. So what I do is I shake up this bottle really well, put a funnel in, and pour it into another spray bottle that I know works. And this is what I use to actually spray. Next up are fences. Here is my cutting garden, and I have this fenced. It's about a 5-foot fence. The deer don't get in here because there's always like a lot of things growing in there, and they don't like to jump in if they see a lot of things that might hurt them, like the raised beds or all my bamboo canes or my trellises. So I have only found the deer in my cutting garden, I think, twice. One time it was because I planted a cover crop of clover, which apparently they love and they got in anyway. And then another time, I think that it was really cleaned out in here and there weren't the bamboo canes and the arch trellises and all that kind of good stuff to keep them out of here. So I did scare them out and they jumped over. So that's about a 5-foot fence. And if you really want a fence to keep the deer out, you need to have a 7 or 8-foot fence. Here's another fence. This is the fence around my bird garden. Protects all of my native plants. Now this fence is high enough to keep the deer out. So it's probably about 7 feet. And what I've done is I have used these T-posts here. And then I get a roll of this fencing from Lowe's. And then for this particular fence, what I had to do is I had to do it in 2 sections. So there's about two feet on the bottom and then 5 feet on top of fencing. And that's really done a good job of keeping the deer out of my bird garden. It actually took me about 2 or 3 years to finally get the formula right. And they did actually penetrate the fence this winter. I found them in there, but I'm gonna show you why. The little tricksters. If you come over here, I have a little door that I use to get in and out. And so the fencing I have here is actually like this flexible deer fencing, okay? So I was in there working and I left and I didn't secure that little flexible door. Well, they found the door. So what I had to do is stick bamboo canes in the ground and secure that door even further. Now, since I've done that, they have not breached the border. Okay, so next up would be the cages that I use. And I don't have any of the wiring right now, otherwise I would make a cage for you and post it, but this is the cage here. It's using the same wire fencing that I have on my bird garden. Now this is fencing a redbud. What is important to note here is that with the trees, I have started bringing the fence up here, up the bamboo stake, because it's not the cage is not tall enough for a tree. The deer will just get to the top of it, so I need to pull that fencing up as the tree grows, and over time the tree will become too tall for the deer to browse. This right here is a cage that I have not raised up the bamboo stakes, and as you can see, the deer go ahead and get at it. And then finally, this is a red bud that has been caged for so long that now I can actually take the cage off this year, and the deer no longer browse on this red bud. So right here, you can see a rosemary plant. So what I've done here is I've planted a few rosemary plants right around here. And the hope is that those rosemary plants will get larger, a lot larger, and be a nice big bush, and keep the deer off of my bottle gentian and the Joe Pye weed behind it, and also the purple flowering raspberry. That's yet to be seen how well that'll work, but it is one of my experiments in progress. And the deer have stayed off this bottle gentian this year, but that could be because I've done a better job at spraying this year than I ever have. Here's another cage. I think that's a Maryland senna or a lead plant. I don't know, I can't remember. But anyway, just to show you, that's what a lot of my cages look like around my shrubs, or mainly around my shrubs. Here is another area where I have planted aromatic herbs. These are different types of basil, and I've planted them in front of my winter berries. They're dwarf winter berries. Just another method to see if that smell will keep the deer from coming up here. I still spray here, so who knows what method works, but the winterberry have not been munched on yet this year. And then as far as hiding plant, I have a baby coralberry and more coralberries up through here. Okay, so the deer aren't supposed to get them, and hopefully they'll start getting larger pretty soon. But what I do have that the deer absolutely love are pinkster azaleas right here. I have about 5 of them back here. And what my thought is here is that I am planting these coral berries right here. Here's another one as a hedge so that they will hide those pinksters from the deer. We'll see if it works. Who knows, but when they get bigger, time will tell. Here's another example of where I've hidden plants. This is the native spikenard. This is the first year I've gotten them to get this big. They are not only caged, but they are also hidden back here. They are hidden behind this baptisia and this dogwood. The dogwoods are also caged because they'll eat them, but using cages, sprays, and hiding these plants, I've done a pretty good job of keeping the deer off. We even have winterberries up there caged, and I've been able to keep the deer off of them. And then you can see, I don't know if you can see actually, but back there is a spikenard in a cage, and you can see where they did get them. The deer typically stay out of this area, probably because it's a little more difficult to navigate. I think that has definitely helped. This is my hummingbird garden, and I pretty much don't even spray this bed because I am using mainly deer resistant plants. Now, I wouldn't suggest limiting yourself to plants that are only deer resistant because the deer will eat anything. They've eaten my ferns before, which is absolutely ridiculous. But what I have in here are a lot of stinky plants that they don't like pineapple sage for one. And then I have lamb's ear, and they don't like the texture of lamb's ear. So intermixed with those non-native plants, I also have natives, which they don't tend to get at either, and that would be the steeplebush here. And then they stay away from the rudbeckia in this garden. I have some peonies, which they don't eat, but this is a mixture of native plants and then non-native pollinator magnet type plants. Try to keep it as native as possible, but what I am finding is because of the deer pressure that I have, using smell really helps in this particular garden. A plant definitely worth mentioning is this Hypericum prolificum, or shrubby St. John's wort. This is a beautiful bush that can do sun, shade, moist, dry. It's a pollinator magnet and has these lovely yellow blooms. This is a plant that in the very late winter you can cut back by half so that you can keep the plant as a manageable size. And something else that I found out about this plant this year is it really attracts the Japanese beetles. Typically, that's a bad thing, but in this case, it's not so much because the Japanese beetles don't damage the plants and the leaves as much as they do other plants like my pole beans. So anyway, what I do is I just come out here in the mornings and I knock them off into the Japanese beetles into soapy water, and then probably as you can see from the video, they just have pollinators everywhere, big and small. Definitely a plant to use that the deer won't bother, and that also could be a front yard plant. I have 2 of these actually in my front yard. Here is another example of using smell to deter the deer and then hiding my desirable plants in with those plants that the deer consider stinky. So this is mountain mint, short-tooth mountain mint or clustered mountain mint, and then you can see I have purple cone flowers in there, and this is the first year that they have bloomed because they are really just hidden in there and the deer can't get on them, and the deer just won't even touch this short-tooth mountain mint. Okay guys, I'm gonna call it a day. It is a scorcher out here. So I hope the information I've shared about how I manage deer and try and keep deer off of my plants will help you if you have the same problem. Nothing is foolproof. Nothing is gonna work 100%. The deer are gonna eat what they wanna eat. They have literally eaten ferns before, and those are supposed to be like rock solid deer resistant. So, you know, just do what you can, and then if you have any ideas or ways that you keep the deer off of your plants that I haven't mentioned today, drop me a note below because I'd love to hear what you do in your landscape. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again next time.